Hey, what's up YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent Switch Slots gaming video for this week, for the week of February 24th to beginning of March 1st though, and we certainly got a lot of stories to cover, including 7 that caught my attention this week. Most of them are Switch related though, but there are maybe one or two of them basically being for like PS4 and maybe other systems as well. So why don't we get started, and we'll start off with the first one, and this one has to do with a listing on Gamestop regarding Wolfenstein Youngblood and Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2. Now, Bethesda, putting aside the whole debacle of a mess that Fallout 76 has created for the company, and as a side note, I know I'm beating a dead horse with this, but I understand people have a right to be angry at Bethesda, though. Bethesda's support for the Switch has been okay, not exactly 100% perfect, but alright to be exact. Supporting the system with Skyrim, yeah, I know the game's been released so many times and all, but I still enjoyed the game to be exact. With also games like Doom and Wolfenstein 2, which is still to this day very impressive that they managed to get the game running onto the Nintendo Switch. So for the most part, they've been pretty good with supporting the Nintendo Switch and so forth. While Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2, that game was a Switch launch lineup, but only in Japan at the time, and supposedly it was the first game to run on the 32GB cartridge for the Nintendo Switch, but as it was shown by some videos though, there were indication that there were major technical issues and that the frame rate wasn't like steady or anything like that, although supposedly the final product, it's not as bad as how Digital Foundry showed it, at least according to what some people have said, but take it however you want to take it though. And well, both of these games, one been rumored, one that we know exists, but at this point has not been released, at least as far as in the US go. Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2. 1 and 2 have been released, I believe, on the PS4. And, well, it turns out to be that there is a possibility that the games, that Wolfenstein Youngblood, not only could that game be coming to the Nintendo Switch if rumors are correct, but it looks like Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2 could see a Western release here as well. From an article on Nintendo Life, again, links will be in the description of this video, you could check it out yourself. The article states, and I quote from the article, last June there was a rumored Wolfenstein Youngblood will be making its way across the Nintendo Switch. The idea of this happening came about when a GameStop employee revealed the game was listed for Switch, and thus follow with it appearing on the company's website. It now seems to have happened again with a supposed list of upcoming releases for the Switch this year, making reference to Youngblood. Bethesda at this stage has not made any official announcement about the standalone Wolfenstein experience coming to Nintendo's new platform. However, Bethesda's marketing executive Pete Hines previously teased the next Wolfenstein game would in fact be coming to the Switch at a panel in October last year. This means the next Switch-bound release is either Youngblood or possibly the third mainline entry in the series. In the same listing, you can see Square Enix Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2. The compilation game was released as a Japanese launch title for the Switch and was never localized. The current placeholder for both of these titles' release is December 31st, 2019, and that's not uncommon to see that in a placeholder and all that stuff. Now, I've seen those games appear on GameStop's listings before many times. I've shopped at GameStop before, and I've seen those games pop up on there though. But there have been times when I try to pre-order them that they're not available to pre-order or something like that. So whenever it comes to these listings, sometimes it could be a typo or sometimes it could be real. I mean, we've seen listings for games that no one would think would come to the Nintendo Switch. Like, there's the rumor going around that Witcher 3 could come to the Nintendo Switch that recently popped up, I think, at like a Spanish or German retail site and all that stuff. So to me, given the support Bethesda has for the Nintendo Switch, at least for now, and given the fact that Wolfenstein and Doom come to the Nintendo Switch, it's certainly not out of the realm of the possibility that Wolfenstein Youngblood could come to the Nintendo Switch. Whether it happens or not remains to be seen. Perhaps we'll hear an announcement. Perhaps if it does, if the rumors are true, perhaps maybe they'll make an announcement at E3. Although Bethesda's going to have to explain, Bethesda's really going to have to knock it out of the park at E3 after how they handled with Fallout 76. Although Nintendo could announce the game at their digital presentation. Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2 is kind of interesting to see if that game does come to the West. Considering, like I said earlier, some of the technical issues to be exact with that game. That said, there have been rumors that Square Enix might bring more Dragon Quest games to the Nintendo Switch, possibly past ones as well. And with the recent Dragon Quest, I forget the renewal, but it was recently shut off at the Nintendo Direct, the Switch edition, and I believe Nintendo might be publishing that version. It's certainly not out of the realm of the possibility that they could bring Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2 over here to the West. Probably fix some technical issues with it. And there was a rumor last year that Nintendo was going to be publishing Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2 for the Nintendo Switch. Don't know if that's still true or not. So, overall, my takeaway from this one is that it's not out of the realm of possibility that Wolfenstein Youngblood could be coming to the Nintendo Switch, nor Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2 could be finally coming out of Japan and coming here to the West. But like anything, sometimes these games show up on the list at GameStop and at retailers. Sometimes they turn out to be true, sometimes they turn out to be false. So until an official confirmation is made, I'm going to for now take this with sort of a grain of salt at this time. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 2, and this one has to do with supposedly a report that a supposedly big RPG could be coming to the Nintendo Switch. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one we're going to be taking a look at supposedly a rumor that a RPG, or supposedly a big RPG, is coming to the Nintendo Switch. Now for me, one of the genres that I think could benefit the most from the Nintendo Switch, although there are plenty of genres that could, this one, at least from my opinion, I think could benefit the most, is supposedly RPGs in general. The whole idea with the Switch, with the whole portable console or the console handheld hybrid where you could take it on the go, I think works great for those kinds of games, because those are the kind of games you could play at home, and then whenever you're on the go, you could take your Switch with you and finish off where you left off. It's one of the reasons why I like the concept and the idea behind the Nintendo Switch. Well, supposedly, if what's being reported, at least from an article from VGameZone, which they pick up from Japanese Nintendo's post, it seems as though we're getting supposedly a big RPG that is coming to the Nintendo Switch. From an article from VGameZone, again, links will be in the description of this video, they are saying that, quote, according to Japanese Nintendo, an undisclosed Tokyo video game company is recruiting for a new 3D RPG with the list saying it will be a big Nintendo Switch title. As for that undisclosed firm, the one clue that is accessible is that the address is 10 minutes from the Shanghai, I apologize if I'm not saying the name correctly, it's Shinagawa, Seaside Station, which obviously this gives away the clue of what the company could most likely would be, which is near Marvelous's address. So obviously based on that, though, it does sound like the most likely scenario is that it's probably Marvelous, to be exact. That said, I'm curious to see what kind of RPG they are working on, or if it's this undisclosed what it is, though. So I'm a little iffy about them claiming to be this big RPG, but nevertheless, I am curious, though. Are we talking about an action RPG, adventure RPG, a traditional RPG to be exact? Are we talking about reviving maybe an old franchise that's going to see the second light of day on the Switch? Are we talking about something brand new? So there's certainly a lot of questions to ask about what this so-called big RPG is. As for the undisclosed firm, to be exact, given what the article is saying, I'm going to take a wild guess and say most likely it's Marvelous, to be exact, but I could be wrong. It could be it could be a brand new company we haven't heard about, though, that they're hiring. I mean, recently we're hearing that Nintendo and Monolith are starting to hire people as well, so we'll be curious to see what Monolith is working on, too. So, my overall takeaway from this is that I'm curious to see what this RPG is, whether it turns out to be this big RPG they're hyping about, whether it turns out to be sort of like a niche type of a game, remains to be seen. And while it could be this undisclosed firm, more than likely, my guess is that it's probably a Marvelous studio that's recruiting for this RPG for the Switch. I could be wrong, but that's where I'm kind of leaning at this time. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 3, and this one has to do with the announcement of Pokemon Sword and Shield. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one we're going to be talking about Pokemon Sword and Shield that was just announced at the recent Pokemon Direct that happened this week. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm not really a big Pokemon fan or anything like that. I got nothing against the series or anything like that. I won't deny that there is certainly an audience for the Pokemon series, and there certainly is a lot of people that enjoyed it though, but it never really interests me as much as perhaps the other person does. But you know what? Everyone has their own preference and taste. Some people like its series, some people don't. Hell, I know a couple of Marines where I work that are into Pokemon as well. So it is kind of interesting to learn that this week during a Pokemon presentation, Nintendo announced the next entry, or supposedly what is basically the mainline entry of the Pokemon series, basically named Pokemon Sword and Shield. From an article from MyNintendo.com, which they're pointing out is a roundup of the announcement, they're basically saying, quote, during a Pokemon presentation, the president and CEO of the Pokemon Company announced Pokemon Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield, the newest addition to the main series of Pokemon role-playing video game. Developed by Game Freaks, Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield will be launching late 2019 exclusively on the Nintendo Switch system. My guess is, and I could be wrong on this, but my guess is a possibility that we could see, I'm guessing maybe a fall 2019 release for that one, probably as one of the games they're pushing for the holidays for the Nintendo Switch. Okay, so anyway, the Pokemon Sword and Shield game takes place in the Galar region, Galar. Galar, I probably am not saying the name correctly, is an expansive region with diverse environments, a countryside, contemporary cities, thick forests, and craggy snow-covered mountain. The people and the Pokemon who live there work together closely to develop the industry in the region. Fans will have an opportunity to visit various gyms in the Galar region in their quest to become champion. They will not be alone, since the newly discovered Pokemon they choose will be their first partner will be their side. Pokemon Sword and Shield are the latest exciting adventure in the Pokemon video game journey that began 23 years ago on this day. Since then, trainers around the world have discovered Pokemon, engaged in epic battles, and made countless memories along the way. We look forward to continuing this journey by exploring a stunning new region in the Pokemon universe when the game launches later this year on the Nintendo Switch. The adventure begins in Pokemon Sword and Shield, where players choose one of the 3 new Pokemons, Grookey, Scorbunny, or Salbar. I apologize if I'm not saying the name correctly. Grookey, a grass-type chimp Pokemon, is mischievously and full of boundless curiosity, bursting with energy. Scorbunny, a fire-type rabbit Pokemon, is always running about. The stealthy Salbar, a water-type water lizard Pokemon, shoots out attacks as it hides itself in water. So obviously there's the next entry into the new Pokemon series. And like I said, even though I'm not really a Pokemon fan, I might give this one a try though. I do have a couple of questions though about this one. I'm curious to see if the rumors, I think like a year ago or something, if the rumors are true of this game running on Unreal Engine 4, since we now know that the upcoming Yoshi's Crafted World is running on Unreal Engine 4, so I'm a little curious about that though. And I'm also, another thing, and I tried this out with Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, which, good game, but I'm not really a big fan of the idea of just using one Joy-Con and all that stuff. I get what they're trying to do, but I wish the game was Pro Controller compatibility though. I mean, the one Joy-Con thing, it was way better than what Square Enix The World Ends With You final remakes, which the game feels almost unplayable with just one Joy-Con though. But I still prefer like a Pro Controller and all that stuff, and I would like to, hopefully that Pokemon Sword and Shield will have Pro Controller compatibility. And then, of course, there's the whole idea of how, trading between Pokemon and all that stuff. I mean, how's that going to work out? Will it have any kind of online functionality or all that stuff? So I'm sure we'll hear more later down the road, though. And some people, are kind of mixed with this, but then again, some people are kind of mixed with Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Even some, from what I remember hearing about, like review bombed the game, but despite that, the games did pretty well during the holidays. So I do have a feeling that this one probably will do well as well too. So overall, I'm curious to hear more information about Pokemon Sword and Shield, even though I'm not a really big Pokemon fan though, and all that stuff. And while it's too early to tell if the games will do well or not, given the brand so far, given how well Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee did, despite some fans being mixed about it, I would say the odds are good that Pokemon Sword and Shield will probably do well when those are released late 2019. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to get to part 4, and this has to do with Resident Evil on the Nintendo Switch, but not in the most positive way out there. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 4 of our My True Scent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at what appears to be somewhat of a controversy regarding the upcoming release of several Resident Evil games coming to the Nintendo Switch. Now, to me, I'm not the biggest Resident Evil fan though, but I have enjoyed the series. Overall, though, my favorite entry, of course, has always been Resident Evil 4. That remains one of my favorite entries of all time, though. And while the series has certainly hit some low points, though, with entries like Resident Evil Survivor to, say, like Resident Evil 5 and 6. 5 is hard to enjoy if you're playing as a single player because your AI partner eats through your ammo. And 6, well, it was trying to appeal to everybody, and that kind of backfired and all that stuff. So the series needed an overhaul, and that's when Resident Evil 7 came out, and that really brought the series back on track. It wasn't perfect, but it definitely brought back what made Resident Evil famous. And just recently, the release of Resident Evil 2 Remake has come out, though. Playing a little bit of that one. I'll try to get a review on that one as soon as possible. And but I will say, while there are some things I don't like, I definitely like the direction they were going with the Resident Evil 2 Remake. Well, it seems as though, as some of you are aware, there were announcements that several Resident Evil games were going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch. Resident Evil 0, Resident Evil 1, the remake version that was released back on the GameCube in 2002, that was later ported onto other systems, and my personal favorite in the Resident Evil series, Resident Evil 4. But it has met with some controversy over the pricing, not to mention Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 0 will have, or Resident Evil 1, one of those will have the game on the cartridge, but would have a downloadable code in the Western version, which, if that's true, then more than likely, that means the Japanese version will probably either have both games in one single cartridge or have them separately, one in one cartridge, one in the other, which means probably be heading over to PlayAsia for that one, though. And the other announcement is that it appears as though Resident Evil 4 is going to be a digital only, at least in the UK, at least for now, although it could be for the West. In an article posted on, in several different articles, it was posted that on Nintendo Life, it says, quote, "The news that Resident Evil HD Remaster, Resident Evil 0, and Resident Evil 4 are all coming to the Switch was met with positive response recently, even if Capcom has made the whole purchasing approach totally and utterly confusing. While North America players will get the HD Remaster 0 in a lovely box art, Resident Evil 4 is a download only title, and Europe Switch owners only have the digital option. Still, these are fine video games, irrespectively of how they are delivered, and to be able to play them on the Switch is great. However, it would seem that Capcom is very much in favor of the infamous Switch tax, as it has priced all three games at $29.99 each in the UK and $29.99 each in North America. So if you want the trio, you're looking at investing around, £29.99 or $29.99, about $90, £90 and $90 American dollars, compared to the £40 currently being asked for the triple pack of the same three games on PS4 and Xbox One in the UK. The games are also available individually, on those consoles, around £16. And according to Eurogamer, the response has not been met very positively. On Twitter, several people have made comments saying, Resident Evil 4 on Switch for £30. Are you having a laugh? And this is to Capcom UK. It also points out, quote, another person wrote, wow, it's true. Resident Evil 4 Switch, £30. Resident Evil 0, £30. Resident Evil remake, £30 total, about £90. Resident Evil triple pack, all of the above. Xbox One, £40, and a person just said F off. Another person wrote, Capcom UK is trying to out Activision with their scummy cash grab. No way in any circle of hell I'm paying £30 for £30, for Resident Evil. And many are pointing to the infamous so-called Switch tax, and so far Capcom hasn't made any comment. On top of that, a petition on change.org, which currently, as of this recording, sits at 1,229, it's going up, apparently, still going up. That's put on change.org, calling for Resident Evil 4 to have a physical release on the Nintendo Switch. As a bit of a disclaimer, I'm actually one of the folks who also signed that petition as well. I know everyone has their if with change.org and all that stuff. Sometimes there are things that they put in there that make sense, sometimes it's not, and it's still going as of this recording right now. Currently, it's at 1,248, and they're trying to reach 1,500 to be exact. On top of that, though, Capcom, at least currently as it stands right now, when asked about the Resident Evil 2 remake on the Switch, though, and someone asked on Twitter, a Capcom Resident Evil community manager said that, quote, no plans on that, no. Although it's worth pointing out, though, that there is no proof that the Resident Evil engine runs on the Switch or not, although I do remember hearing during the development of the Switch, Capcom asked Nintendo to put in, I think, a little bit more RAM or something like that to have their engine run on the Nintendo Switch, from what I remember hearing though. So all I can say about this is kind of a little bit ouch indeed though, that a lot of these old Resident Evil games are going to be extremely expensive. Even the whole idea of Resident Evil 4 being a digital only title is certainly not sitting well with some people, and quite frankly, I don't think it should be a digital only title though. I mean, we've seen, hell, Capcom has released Onimusha Warlords, this on the Nintendo Switch as a digital only title, but have it in Japan as a physical, which obviously I opt to go for the physical version as well. And if that's the case, I might do that. I might do that as well. If the Japanese version has a physical version, I might take that approach. But it is a little ridiculous about some of the prices, considering that the price has gone down for these games lately. So I don't know whether it's a Switch tax or not. It could be that, although we've seen some games have been able, I mean, a lot of developers have been able to avoid some of the Switch tax or anything like that, but who knows? I think the price is kind of ridiculous. As for the Resident Evil 2 remake though, while it's certainly not out of the realm of possibilities that they could bring it over to the Nintendo Switch, I bet there may have to be compromises and some sacrifices possibly made to it though. I wouldn't be shocked if it doesn't though. I mean, if the rumors of Xbox Game Pass coming to the Nintendo Switch turn out to be true, if that's true, we might see the Resident Evil 2 remake from there though. So, but I am a little disappointed that there's currently no plans for it, assuming they could get the engine running on the Nintendo Switch though, because I really do enjoy the Resident Evil 2 remake though, and I would love the idea of being able to play it on the Switch and bring it on the go as well, but we'll have to wait and see. Maybe they're still checking the Resident Evil engine out, see if it could still work on the Switch and all that stuff. If not, then hope for perhaps one day, if the rumors of Xbox Game Pass coming to the Nintendo Switch are true, that you could stream it through the Nintendo Switch, considering that Resident Evil 7 and Assassin's Creed Odyssey were available to stream on the Nintendo Switch, only in Japan only. So overall, not exactly the best news for Switch owners who are hoping to play some Resident Evil games on the Nintendo Switch. Hopefully Capcom can fix this and all that stuff. Hopefully there may maybe some clarifications, but right now the response is pretty much not that positive at all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 5, and this one has to do with the possibility that we could see a port of Leisure Suit Larry's Wet Dreams Don't Dry come not only to the PS4, but also to the Nintendo Switch as well. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 5 of our My 2 Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the possibility that we could see Leisure Suit Larry, and this is the name of the title, Wet Dreams Don't Dry, could be making their way to the PS4 and the Nintendo Switch, though. I don't know much about the Leisure Suit Larry games. I've read a little bit about it, but I never really played them except for one, and this was back in 2004 when it was, I think, the Leisure Suit Larry. I think this was like the nephew of him going to college and all that stuff. The game was kind of interesting. It was sort of a bit of a point-and-click kind of adventure type of a game, but I never really got through those games and all that stuff. So it was interesting to see last year when, basically, at least from what I remember reading, Destructoid do a review of the newest entry in the Leisure Suit Larry games called Leisure Suit Larry's Wet Dreams Don't Dry, and pretty much it got a positive response to it. Well, it seems as though the game could be making their way to the Nintendo Switch and PS4 if this article from Destructoid and a listing on a German retail site turns out to be true. From Destructoid, they're saying, quote, the German Video Game Rating Board, USK, the USK, from what I understand, has a listing for PS4 and Nintendo Switch port of graphic adventure Leisure Suit Larry Wet Dreams Don't Dry, which launched last November on PC. The long-running lewd and crude franchise made a somewhat successful comeback after years of abominational release, such as 2004's Magma Cum Laude, Laude, that's the one I remember playing, and 2009's box office bust, returning to the classic 2D point-and-click route and both embracing and lampooning its protege, completely irrelevant in modern society. WDDD received some surprising praise from both critics and fans. No date is listed for the slick sleazeballs Larry's PS4 and Nintendo Switch debut, but given the age ratings are already being improved, we will likely hear more news from the publisher Assemble Entertainment soon. Something happened. Oh, I thought something happened. All right. So the idea of this game coming to the Nintendo Switch isn't really as surprising as it would be in the early days of a Switch, considering the fact that Nintendo lately has been more open in bringing in certain types of games, whether they are ultra violent or risque or raunchy. Look at Galgun 2 as an example. So I'm not really surprised if the rumors are true, if this game does exist, if this comes to the Nintendo Switch. What would be interesting to see for me, though, would be the PS4 version. And the reason why is because this has to do with a policy change Sony recently did, which basically kind of tones down some of the, supposedly would be the risque and raunchy stuff for sort of a worldwide release. Case in point, though, the upcoming release of Dead or Alive Extreme 3 Scarlet, which supposedly is not going to be coming here to the West, but being that the PS4 and Switch are region free, obviously you could import it through Play Asia or other means. Supposedly, the PS4 version of Dead or Alive 3 Extreme Scarlet will run at 1080p 60 frames per second, but supposedly it would be toned down compared to the Switch version, which will run at 30 frames per second, 1080p docked, 720p undocked, which supposedly, from what I remember hearing, is not only going to be the uncensored version of the game, but they went as far as promoting the so-called, quote, I can't believe I'm saying this, but this is what they're referring to, 4D jiggly physics in the game. So I'm very curious to see how the PS4 version is going to be. Will that version be toned down, or will they be able to keep what was in when the game was released, I believe, on PC and Mac, though? And I'm also curious to see if this game is going to get a physical release, or whether or not it's going to be a digital-only title. So my overall take about it is, I'm not really a Leisure Suit Larry fan, but I don't have a problem with this game existing, especially on the Nintendo Switch. But it will be very interesting to see how the Switch version and the PS4 version looks, and I'm very curious to see if the PS4 version, assuming the rumors of this game coming to the PS4 and Switch are true, if that gets toned down or if it doesn't get toned down at all. And last but not least, it is a little bit surprising to see that an Xbox One version is not happening. Whether or not they're going to announce that at a later date, or whether that does not exist or anything like that, who knows. But overall, I'm willing to give this game a try. I'm willing to try this point-and-click adventure of Leisure Suit, the latest adventure from Leisure Suit Larry. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 6, and this one has to do with an update that has been made for the upcoming release of Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 6 of our My True Scent video, and for this one we're going to be taking a look at the latest update for the upcoming release of Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. Now, before I begin talking about Bloodstained or anything like that, I do want to give out a little bit of a disclosure of that game. I am the backer. I am one of those backers who did back this game when it was originally announced on Kickstarter, though. Any opinions I have for this game are my opinion and my opinion alone. I am not being paid, sponsored, or endorsed by either the publishers or the developers. With that disclosure out of the way, Bloodstained is certainly a game that has been a long time coming. Ever since it was originally announced back in, I think, March of 2015 as a Kickstarter, though, fans have been waiting to see when this game would come out. They've been showing off updates and all that stuff. The game's also been hit with several different delays as well. And of course, last year they released Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, which acts somewhat as, I believe, a mixture of a prequel and a spin-off as well, that played off like the old school 8-bit or a redefined version of Castlevania 3. And it was certainly a very fun game indeed, especially on the Nintendo Switch, and many people were very positive with that game. Well, it seems as though we saw not only an update that they showed off, including the visuals, which they showed off on YouTube, but we also now have confirmation that the price point, at least for the Nintendo Switch, looks like it's not going to suffer from what is often referred to as the dreaded Switch tax, because of the price of cartridges and all that stuff, and that's why the games are a little bit more expensive on the Switch than they are on the PS4 and Xbox One. Although we've been hearing the cost of these cartridges and all that stuff, the price has started to go down and all that stuff. So anyway, in an article on Nintendo Life, it is reported, though, and they picked this up from Nintendo Soup, is that, quote, according to a listing on Amazon, the physical copy of Bloodstained Ritual of the Night on the Switch will cost $40, $39.99, and an extra $10 more, $49.99, $50 on Xbox One and PS4. However, there is a temporary discount for the Xbox One release, pushing it back down to the same price as the Switch version. This isn't necessarily the first time something like this has happened, but it does raise the question as to why the Switch version of this is this price and what happened to the infamous Switch taxes. The same Amazon listing also has reportedly confirmed that the game would be launched on September 17th, 2019. It's worth pointing out that no release date or price has been officially confirmed at this point in time. Although I do want to point out, though, going over to Amazon.com, yes, they have the game priced at $39.99 for this Nintendo Switch version, $40. However, this article might be a bit old and they may have changed this by now. It shows basically the PS4 version at, basically they have that at $39.99, $40, and the Xbox One version at $39.99, although they have a release date for December 31st, 2019, most likely a placeholder though, so it's possible the price is different. It's possibly that price may not be issue for the PS4 or Xbox One version. Either way, it's nice that the Switch version is looking like it's going to be the same price as the PS4 or Xbox One, maybe lower. Hopefully that's not going to discourage people who are thinking about picking up the Switch version in any way. On top of that, we've also got an update about upcoming Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, especially in terms of the visuals of the game. In an article from VG247, they are reporting that Bloodstained Ritual of the Night's visuals have been updated to be more in line with the original version. That version obviously being the creation of a spiritual successor to Castlevania Symphony of the Night. In a new development update, the team behind Bloodstained Ritual of the Night shared a look at the game's new art style. The footage used in June's 28 demo as a point of reference, and the difference is immediately obvious. The update build gets rid of the soft look Bloodstained previously had, replacing it with a darker image overall. The characters themselves are more pronounced, as the level of detail in their models, as well as the environment in general has been increased. It looks like development is coming along nicely, and they have footage of it as well. They have videos of it as well. So honestly, it sounds like this is basically good news for Bloodstained Ritual of the Night fans, especially those who are thinking about getting the Nintendo Switch, as it seems as though the Switch version will not suffer from the dreaded Switch tax. And I will say, seeing the development update video on it, I will say that it looks like, I do like the new look to the game, to be exact. It definitely looks better than what was shown at June 2018, although that's the demo and all that stuff. And I'm definitely looking forward to trying out this game when it comes out, if the release date of September 17th is true. I know there are some that are concerned that this could be another Mighty Number 9 situation, and I understand that concern after that debacle of the mess that Mighty Number 9 pulled. But at the same time, given Curse of the Moon game out, given the fact that they have supposedly just focus on this game right out of the gate, not trying to create a media empire like Keiji Inafune did with Mighty Number 9, I do believe there's no indications at this time that points that this is going to be another Mighty Number 9 situation. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong on that, but we'll have to wait and see when the final version comes out. But I do believe that this game is not going to be another Mighty Number 9. So hopefully it comes out on the actual release date, and hopefully the Switch version plays as well as how the PS4, the Xbox One, and even how the PC and Steam version play. Obviously, there are going to be some visual differences and all that stuff, where the other versions obviously will offer, I think PC will offer 4K as well. So, but either way, I'm looking forward to Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. I hope the long wait is well worth it. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 7, our final My Two Cent, and this one has to do with a new rumor popping up that it sounds like Persona 5 could be coming to the Nintendo Switch after all, if the rumors are true. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our 7th and final part of our My Two Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at a new rumor that's coming out that may point to Persona 5 could be coming to the Nintendo Switch. Now, I think a couple months ago, there were rumors going around with the fact that not only that one of the characters from Persona 5 were going to pop up onto the upcoming release of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which turned out to be true, and I believe he was shown off at the Video Games Awards. Excuse me. There were also rumors going around that Persona 5 was coming to the Nintendo Switch, and many people were hoping to hear an official confirmation from Atlus. And while they did announce a Persona 5 game, it wasn't the Persona 5 game they were thinking. It said it was, I think, Persona 5R that was coming to the PS4. And most people who were hoping for Persona 5 for the Nintendo Switch were kind of, disappointed though. So, to me, and I will admit I was kind of disappointed, but I wasn't losing complete sleep over the decision. It's whatever it was though. And, it turns out to be that it looks like we could be getting the Persona 5 game coming to the Nintendo Switch after all, if these rumors are true, under the title Persona 5S, with also the possibility that a Persona 3 could get an HD remake, though, if these rumors are true. From an article from Nintendo Soup, it's reported that, it's quoted that Jared Owa, Ohya, and again, I apologize, I'm not saying his name correctly, a Twitter user who was one of the first to discover details on Persona 5R, has received 2 pieces of information that he has heard from Atlus fans today. Keep in mind, no one knows if this is 100% true, so a grain of salt should be taken on it. First, he points out that he says that Persona 5S will launch on the Nintendo Switch and PS4 in fall 2019. His claims come after Atlus received Persona 5 R for PS4. So that means Persona 5S, whatever it is, different from Persona 5 R. He also added that in another tweet that details will come out before May 2019, possibly this, if true, possibly this month, or possibly sometime in April. He also claims that Atlus is considering a remake of Persona 3 HD, but no platforms were named. Now, obviously, we won't know until Atlus makes an official statement, so obviously a grain of salt has to be taken with these rumors. That said, though, I still won't rule out the possibility that Persona 5 could come to the Nintendo Switch. While it is true that we've seen guest characters appear on Smash Brothers, with upcoming Joker, though, not just because we've seen guest characters pop up there doesn't guarantee mean their games are coming over to a Nintendo platform. Look at Solid Snakes, for example. So it's possible this rumor could be false, but at the same time, given how popular the Switch has been getting lately, and especially in Japan, I won't rule out the possibility that a Persona 5 game could come to the Nintendo Switch. Whether it's Persona 5S, whether it's a different name, who knows? Whether it has all the DLCs when the original Persona 5 was released on the PS4, who knows? But I certainly won't rule it out entirely, especially given the popularity of the Switch, and like I mentioned, even in Japan. As far as a remake of Persona 3, again, I'm not a big Persona fan, but I've heard how that one is a fan favorite for a lot of people. So the idea of them remaking Persona 3, again, certainly not out of the realm of possibilities, though. As far as platforms, though, my guess most likely, unless barring anything happens, my guess is the PS4 would be the most obvious choice, though. But I certainly can't rule out, something like, the Nintendo Switch or anything like that. Whether it's a full-on remake, whether it adds stuff that was maybe not in the original version of Persona 3 or not, remains to be seen. But we'll have to wait and see until Atlus makes an official announcement. But I wouldn't rule out the possibility of Persona 3 getting a HD remake. So overall, I am taking this with a grain of salt because we've heard rumors before that Persona 5 was coming to Nintendo Switch, and that didn't happen when they announced Persona 5 R. But but this one, I would say it is certainly possible, but I'm going to approach this one with caution, though. Would I like to see Persona 5 come to Nintendo Switch? To me, the answer is yes, because I think that RPGs could benefit a lot on the Nintendo Switch as well. Whether it happens or not it remains to be seen, and if what this person's saying is true, we'll probably hear an announcement either in this month, or in April, or in May. But again, it is a rumor, so we'll have to take it with a grain of salt, and we'll have to wait and see. But so, for me, my fingers are crossed that Persona 5 does come to the Nintendo Switch, whether it's called Persona 5S or whatever other name they go with. And I do hope that a Persona 3 HD remake does happen. And if it does, I would love to see it coming to the Nintendo Switch. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about the possibility that Wolfenstein Youngblood and Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2 could be, or shall we say Wolfenstein Youngblood could be coming to the Nintendo Switch, and Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2 could be released here in the West, according to a listing on GameStop? Do you think that listing is right? Do you think that listing is wrong? Do you believe Wolfenstein Youngblood will come to the Switch, or do you don't think that will happen? Do you think Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2 will finally be released here in the West, or do you do not think that's happening? What are your thoughts about this so-called developer working on a big RPG for the Nintendo Switch? Do you think this developer is this unknown development team working on it, or do you think it's obviously Marvelous Studio? And what RPG do you think that they could be working on that could be coming to Nintendo Switch? And do you think it's this big RPG, or do you don't think it's that big RPG at all? What are your thoughts about the announcement of Pokemon Sword and Shield? Is this the mainline Pokemon game that you were hoping for? Is it the Pokemon game you were looking forward to trying out? Do you want it to play more like Let's Go Pikachu Eevee and Eevee and Pikachu, or do you rather play something completely different and all that stuff? Are you looking forward to the upcoming Pokemon Sword and Shield? What are your thoughts about some of the situations with Resident Evil on the Nintendo Switch? Does the price point for these games, does that turn you off of buying these games? Does these not turn you off? Are you okay with Resident Evil 4 being digital only, or do you think it's ridiculous and all? And the comments made about Resident Evil 2 not coming to the Nintendo Switch, or at least based on that comment, do you think it's the remake though? Do you think it's still possible the Resident Evil 2 remake will come to the Nintendo Switch, or do you think that it's unlikely to happen? What are your thoughts about Leisure Suit Larry, and again, I can't believe I'm saying this name, Wet Dreams Don't Dry, coming to the PS4 and Nintendo Switch, at least according to this rating on from Germany? Do you think these games will come to the Nintendo Switch and PS4, or do you think they'll stay just on PC and Mac only? Would you like these games to come to the PS4 and Nintendo Switch? Would you buy these games? And do you think do you think there's a chance that the PS4 version could have, be toned down, or do you don't think that's going to happen in any way? What are your thoughts about this update on Bloodstained Ritual on the Night? Are you happy with the new visual updates though? Do you think this is the right direction for developers to go? And what about the price point for the Switch version being at $40? Are you okay with that price point? Do you think it avoids the dreaded Switch tax in any way? And is that the version you're going to be picking up, the Switch version, or the PS4 or Xbox One version instead, or even the PC or Steam version? And last but not least, what are your thoughts about the possibility that Persona 5S, if that's what's going to be called, could be coming to Nintendo Switch? Do you think this rumor is true that it will be coming to the Nintendo Switch? Do you think it's not true at all? And what are your thoughts about the possibility they could be looking at doing an HD remake of Persona 3? Would you be down with that? Would you like to see an HD remake of Persona 3? Would you like to see it come to the PS4? Would you like to see it come to the Switch? Would you like it to come to just the Xbox One or PC or Steam? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think, and I hope you hit that like button. I would appreciate it, and I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal Me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that will be soon. Until then, from Southern California, wish you all a good day then. Bye!